So back in March, Yeelight sent me a whole bunch of really cool things along with a Google Home speaker. We'll turn the air purifier off. On? No, it's already on. Turn it off. On? No, off. On. No, off! Turn the f***ing air purifier f***ing off! You f***ing off! 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 On? Thanks. I was super impressed by the light quality of their bulbs and their incredibly sexy lamp, but also at the amount of systems that their ecosystem would interact with. But now, they've sent us something that we've all been waiting for years. A Nanoleaf alternative that won't break the bank. Thanks to Yeelight for sending me their LED light panels. These things work with She That Should Not Be Named, Google Home, If This Then That, and like all other Yeelight products, it works with Home Assistant. Home Assistant! There was just one space in my studio that had not yet been filled with LED lights. And people often ask, how much is your electricity bill? And the truth is, Jeff Bezos can see it from space. Today's video is a comparison between the Yeelight LED light panels and Nanoleaf's shapes triangles. I bought the Nanoleafs especially for this video, so before we even begin, a massive thank you to my patrons for helping to fund this episode. There is one thing the Yeelights do that I just did not see coming, and I'm going to tell you more about that later in the episode. That work? That bait you in? Have you been baited by the master? Am I a master bait? If you were around in the 90s, you might remember when SIM cards looked this big. Hello? These are actually the little cards that hold the pieces together and allow them to communicate. In the box, you get 6 panels, with the ability to add up to 6 more panels to a total of 12. You get a power supply, a control box, and some 3M tape. 3M tape will glue these things to your wall for longer than you will exist on this earth, so you need to be 100% certain of your positioning before you begin. Because when a meteorite crashes into Earth and destroys humanity, the only things that will be left will be the cockroaches, your 3M tape, and Jeff Bezos laughing down at the world from space. Should have used blue tack. This is probably the only time I'll ever agree with Jeff Bezos. Use blue tack. I'm the master of blue tack. Among other things. Bait. Also included is an audio splitter jack plug. This thing will allow you to connect in both your PC speakers and the lights so that you can enjoy music synchronized, and we'll talk more about that in the next section. And if you're not familiar with one of these splitter jacks, you probably weren't around in the 90s. It brings back these terrible memories of being in the car with my parents on the way to Skegness, and my sister and our shared Walkman became the bane of my life. One of us wanted to listen to The Little Mermaid. It was me. When we inevitably get put back into lockdown, you'll be able to have a disco in your house, thanks to disco mode. But the nice thing with these lights is that their disco mode can either use the inbuilt microphone on the device itself, or it can be connected by the splitter cable that I showed you a moment ago. The S button on the control box rotates through various scene animations, of which there are many. but you'll ultimately settle on this one that fades between colors, and the M button rotates through static colors instead. Using the Yeelight app, you can pick various static colors, take photos of colors, adjust the brightness, and turn the device on and off. And ultimately, by linking the lights to an account, you will then be able to add them to She That Should Not Be Named and Google Home. There are two different apps that you can use to control these lights. The first one is the Yeelight app. And the Yeelight app seems at time of filming to only be able to set solid colors. You can't for some reason adjust scenes. There are two scenes that are set for you, and one is movie night, which kind of just sets them to blue, and the second one is dating night, which sets them to yellow. Because we all know how much the girls like yellow. The second of these two apps is the Xiaomi Home app, and the Xiaomi Home app seems to have quite a bit more functionality. It's a lot more of a polished product. This app will actually allow you to change things like the scenes and, in fact, brightness of each individual scene. The more polished app links into the Xiaomi Home skill for She That Should Not Be Named and Google Home, but I have found that the Google Home skill doesn't yet work. I suspect this is either a locale issue or simply a case that I'm using their development software, because this thing isn't actually out yet, so I should probably give them a bit of a break. Whilst researching these panel lights, I stumbled across this wonderfully hyperactive teenager.
Oh my gosh. Holy crap, I'm actually so excited to get into these. Okay, off topic, the box smells the box smells so good, oh my god. The outside doesn't smell good though, just the inside.
The box smells of glue. Okay, you guys, I was wondering what else might smell amazing, so I've been to my dad's garage and got this paint thinner. Dude! Well, that explains the hyperactivity. The kid's actually a genius. If I was half as good as him when I was 15 years old, I'd have my own TV show by now. So, if you like hyperactive children showing you tech, the kid's actually really good, and I'll link him below. The box, however, is not the exciting thing about Yeelight. Let me demonstrate what is actually exciting about Yeelight right now. This works thanks to their LAN control feature. This feature enables developers to control these lights locally using an SSDP-like discover mechanism and JSON encoded controlling commands. In short, Home Assistant! If you're not a Home Assistant fan, this is still massive news, because it's another very large consumer smart home company that are finally giving up the reins and saying, here is local access to be able to control our stuff without us. We're another step closer to a future where we don't end up paying a subscription to switch our lights on and off. Whereas many companies are clamping down on the DIY style of home automation and locking us out of their devices, Yeelight are doing the direct opposite. And this is a massive reason to be looking to buy their products. You would not know the difference between the Nanoleaf panels and the Yeelight panels unless you held them side by side. The Nanoleafs are very, very slightly brighter, but I think the Yeelights are actually more saturated with the individual colors. I don't personally need anything more than that. I have them on 37% brightness because if you leave them at 100%, they'll burn your retina out. You don't need these things to be brighter than Nanoleaf. One thing that the Nanoleafs do better than the Yeelights... Dude! You just said doo-doo! A doo-doo's a turd. I said doo-doo. They do better whites. So there is only one kind of white for the Yeelights, and that is bluish white. The Nanoleaf does proper warm through to cool, so you can actually adjust the temperature of the white light if that's what you wanted it for. Each Yeelight panel is a tiny bit bigger than the Nanoleaf equivalent, but the Nanoleaf can have up to 28 leaves attached, whereas the maximum for Yeelight is only 12. So if you're thinking about doing a massive scape on your wall, that's worth considering. And the final difference between these two products is that Nanoleaf has this touch-sensitive option where you can actually use gestures to control the panels. And this is undeniably awesome. It's also £45 more expensive. There is no denying that the Nanoleaf product has a stronger feature set because they've been in the market longer. But Yeelight can improve some of these things with simple firmware and software updates going forwards, and the product isn't actually even yet released. At a much cheaper price tag, this has got to be a consideration. And I know from experience that once I find an animation I like, I'll set it to that and never touch it again anyway. My Yeelight panels are now connected beneath my guitar, set to a wave pattern, and now come on automatically when I press the light switch in my room because I've connected the Yeelight panels to a BROADLINK plug socket. The Yeelights do in fact remember their last setting, which is a really handy feature because it means that I can do that and get back to the light that I had before. And it's worth noting that if you do plan to do something similar, the Nanoleafs take ages to boot up. The Yeelights are like that. The second they've got power, they're on. The Nanoleafs, not so much. These are actually stunning lights, and I am keeping them exactly where they are. I've bought the Nanoleaf panels, but do you know what? I'm probably just going to send them back. I might put them somewhere else, but they're not going in here because I'm perfectly content with the Yeelights. You will be too. If you're interested in buying some, they're also going to be slightly discounted by my discount code, so go to the description, click my link, stick in my discount code, and get them even cheaper. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. That'll tell YouTube's algorithms it was a good video, and more people should see it. If you want to see some more of this guy, hit that subscribe button and ding that bell. If you ding the bell, it lets YouTube know that you want to be notified when I upload videos. These incredible people here are my patrons from Patreon, and they helped fund this episode. As I said at the beginning of this, I bought those Nanoleafs with money that I get from you guys. If you want to be one of these incredible people, I'll honestly love you from the bottom of my heart, and you can do that at either Patreon or buy me a one-off beer at PayPal, and either way, I will genuinely love you forever. These are my Facebooks and my Twitters and my Instagrams, and in fact my TikToks. Come and hang out there and we can be best friends. See you next time. Wish it still was the 90s. My wrists hurt. That's what happens when you're 40. You can't do anything. I should have warmed up. Should have warmed up to pretend to slap my sister. Let's say how sexy this looks on me. Should have used blue tack. Spit came out there. I can't do too many takes of this. I'm huffing paint thinner. Dude!